left the museum with the rest of the art club members after we'd had our fill of the place.
すごく参考になったわよね、トコ。そうだね。どうしたの？元気がないようだけれど。少し疲れたのかもしれないね。そろそろ帰りましょうか。
そう。I was worried about Toko. Her countenance had been shrouded with a ghastly pallor ever since she saw a girl in shell. Now why was that? Sure, Stella called it a masterpiece, but it was still just a painting at the end of the day. The woman in it may have been Toko's spitting image, but it wasn't like it was actually her. However, it was also way too much of a stretch to chalk it up as coincidence. Maybe Toko's mother or one of the relatives had been a model for it. That's the thing. Her grandfather is close friends with the artist, right? We learned that. Okay. So I don't know who the woman being depicted. It could. They said it was one of his more recent paintings, right? And I imagine, he would know of Toko, being, friends with her grandfather. I don't know how well they would know each other, but interesting. Okay. But Chizuru didn't look all that much like the girl, at least not to my eyes, anyhow. Oh. Took stock of someone heading toward the museum out of the corner of my eye. Oops. Just realized the reason I came here in the first place.
Yukari, すまないが、先に帰っていてくれるか。
それは構いませんけれど。お仕事ですか？
そうだ。
わかりました。お気をつけて。
Yukari left to join Toko and Toko. Meanwhile, I circled back to the museum. By the time I made my way inside, Yorutsuki Mori and Stella were engaged in a heated dispute.
写真だ。
いいじゃないですか。減るもんじゃないし。
でもダメ。
俺はちゃんと取材許可受けてきてるんすよ。
でも写真ダメ。
まあまあ、落ち着きたまえ二人。
I interceded before it got any uglier. This will make it easier for me to talk to the guy later.
誰？
つい宣告あったばかりでしょうが。
名前。
Oh yeah, because I never did give her my name, did I?
探偵の時坂礼二です。
Make sure to say that loud enough so Yorutsuki Mori could hear me.
レイジ？
ええ、そう呼んでもらっても構いませんよ。
I had Yorutsuki like a hawk as I spoke. If he was sharp, he'd be tensing up on hearing my profession.
探偵なんすか。
Oh? That was far less of a reaction than I'd expected. Was he truly innocent, or was he just playing dumb?
君は確か。
なんで俺の名前を？
それは君を探していたからだよ。
I got straight to the point as I guarded the exit of the exhibit, ensuring he couldn't take flight.
知ってますよ。
Much to my surprise, he flat out admitted it without so much as a moment's hesitation.
去年の秋くらいかな。公園にいたところに声をかけて被写体になってもらったんすよ。
ひょっとして知らないのか。
There's no indication he was putting on an act.
彼女は今。
マジっすか？そういや年明けから見てないっすね。てっきり振られたのかと思ってたっすよ。
It seemed like he was lying, not to me anyway.
何か俺にできることはないっすか？
今のところは俺の質問に答えるくらいだな。
俺何でもします。今まで撮った写真だって全部見せますから。
今まで西園由衣の写真はあるのか？
もちろんっす。後で持ってきますよ。
そうか。では夜に吉祥寺駅前にある月世界という喫茶店でお茶を。
わかったっす。それじゃあまた後で。
Well, that was productive. Yorutsuki turned around and shuffled out of the exhibit hall. Still wasn't sure if I could trust him. We definitely had info. That was exactly what I needed most. Stella stared at me.
何？
レイジ、探偵？
あ、
そう。
Ah. Stella nodded to herself and left as if she'd unraveled some great mystery of the cosmos. I don't either. She's kind of goofy, but I like him kind of goofy. I arrived at Inokashira Park. My goal was to discern how much truth there was to the rumor Tojiko had told me about yesterday. The rumor Tojiko had told us yesterday. Oh, right, about how students had seen, like, the Black Madonna leaving the scene. Thus I started by looking around. Several kids were playing by the edge of the pond. I walked over, figuring I had nothing to lose by asking them.
君たち、
何おじさん。
Oh, it's from Mister. No, I knew I was getting up in years.
この辺りで黒い布切れが落ちているのを。
おいら知ってるよ。
本当かい？
隣のタカちゃんがかぶって遊んでたよ。
それはどこにあるの？
風で飛んでっちゃって木の上に引っかかっちゃったって。
The boy pointed up to the sky. I looked over and saw that there really was something black snagged on a tree branch.
高いな。ありがとうな、坊主。
Now came the real question. How was I supposed to get it?
登るしかない。
Man, been ages since I last scaled a tree. My fingers brushed the cloth. There we go. Just gotta reel it in now. You guy would never let me hear the end of it if I fell.
先生、何しとうと？
Tochiko! A familiar voice called out to me from below. I grabbed the cloth and looked down, but there were too many branches to get a good view of my surroundings. So I threw the cloth over my shoulder and carefully descended the tree. Tochiko was right where I had landed.
こんなところで何をしてるんだ、トジコ。
いや、それ私のセリフだし。あとポチコ言うな。
まあそんなことはともかく。この布切れか。噂の黒い聖母がまとっ。
私が見たわけじゃないからわかる。
She said that, but Tochiko still studied the black cloth with keen interest.
人が着られるようになってるみたいだね。ほらここ。
There was indeed a gaping hole right where Tochiko indicated. It seemed it was possible to wear it like a rain poncho.
これが黒い聖母だ。
And that meant the dismembered corpse found in this park lined up with all the other killings, minus the black egg, that is.
これで謎はすべて解けたね。
Tochiko had an odd look on her face.
いや、トジコ。お前何も分かっちゃいないだろ。
雰囲気を味わいたかっただけだよ。
I said goodbye to Tochiko and waited at the station to hand the cloth off to Ozumi. He passed through the gate just as I was wondering if Moonworld would have been a better rendezvous point.
おう、見つかったって。
ああ、
布切れか。似ているかもしれねえな。
お前もそう思うか。
Referring to the black cloths that the corpses were shrouded in, of course.
同一のものか調べられるか。
できないことはねえだろうな。だがこれで何がわかる？
何もわからないかもしれないな。
おい。
ああ、待てよ。確実な物証とは言えないが、少なくとも。
とっとと星を上げてくれ。そうしねえとまた仏が増えるぞ。
That's
そ
the
んなことは
goal.
百も承知だ。
He was right. We still don't have any definitive evidence that pointed toward the culprit. But we were close, so close I could taste it even. The western skies had taken on a vermilion hue. Alright, where to? I mean, yeah, we're supposed to go meet homie at Moonworld, so I mean... Go to Moonworld. Over to Moonworld. It wasn't usually busy at this hour, meaning I could kick back and relax for a bit. Oddly enough, no one greeted me. For a moment I thought the cafe might actually be busy for a change, but I saw no customers around. Instead, I found Kyoko and Hatsune staring at something at the edge of the counter.
じゃあこういうのはどうですか？それだと予算がね。
おーい。
Paying customer right here.
ほら、時坂くん。
Kyoko finally noticed me.
コーヒーを。って、なんでこの時期にアイスクリームがあるんだ？
Saw a pile of ice cream sitting on a plate atop the counter.
初音ちゃんがね、うちにも新しいメニューが必要なんじゃないかっていうのよ。
だって聞けばずーっとビスケットくらいしか置いていないっていうじゃないですか。
日持ちしないものは面倒なのよ。
じゃあ普通の軽食でもいいと思いますよ。
じゃあ初音ちゃんが作ってみる？
私がですか？
Hatsune nodded, body radiating confidence.
なあ。
Did they forget I was here? There was still some time until I was due to meet Yorutsuki Mori. Thus I decided I'd bum around town a bit
悪
first.
いkyoko。また後。
Strode out of the cafe, leaving the two to their own devices. Okay. I see no reason to go back to Takashiro there. Because we already got the fingerprint samples back. There's been no other murders. I guess I'll go to the park, I don't know. Fuck it. I returned to Inokashira Park. Yotsuki wouldn't be arriving anytime soon, so I chose to kill time here. I walked around for a bit until I spotted Orihime sitting at a bench. Ooh, interesting. She stared out at the pond with a countenance weighed down by despondency. It was clear she hadn't even noticed me despite how close I'd gotten to her.
Yeah.
Orihime quivered with a start.
先生、
隣。
どうぞ。
Orihime scooted over to make room for me.
元気がないようだね。
She had nothing to say to that. Whatever was tormenting her had been doing a much bigger number on her than yesterday.
まだ何も話す気にはなれないかな。
Orihime hung her head. Didn't want to force answers out of her if I could help it, but the clock really was ticking here.
もしかしたら俺が調べている件に関わってくるもん。
Orihime gasped. That was right. She knew something about the black egg, didn't she?
先生、
Orihime finally broke her silence, yet still was unwilling to look at me.
先生は地獄や天国、
あいにくと俺は現実主義でね。
My guy.
あまりそういうのは信じていない。
I decided it'd be best not to sugarcoat things around her.
私はどう間違っても天国へ行けるような人間ではありません。地獄の豪華で焼かれる咎人です。
God damn.
煉獄へ
Okay,
すらた
wow.
どり着けぬ滞在人です。
Orihime's voice was as deadpan as ever.
時坂先生の目には私はどのような人
You
間
just
に
seem
見え
like
ま
a
すか？
regular teenager to me, dude. You talk in big words, but like shit. However, I had no idea what to say to someone who claimed she deserved to burn in hell. It'd be easy enough to tell her that wasn't true, but I didn't know why she believed that, so my words would ring hollow.
答えられるはずはありませんわ。
俺は君のことを学院での立ち居振る舞いでしか知らない。
それが私の全てだとでも思っているのですか？まさか先生に限って
Orihime was slowly but surely growing more impassioned.
私は皆の規範となるよう月島織姫とは気高く強い人間でなくてはならない。
Orihime abruptly cut her speech short.
いえ、すみません先生。
発散したいことがあるのならできる時にしておいた方がいいと思うよ。
いいえ、そういうわけにはいきません。私は
At that, she swiftly rose to her feet.
お引き止めしてしまいまして申し訳ありませんでした、先生。
Orihime raced down the walking trail as if fleeing my presence. Interesting, interesting. It was finally just about time. Yotsuki would be at Moonworld any minute.
いらっしゃいませ。
初音くん、俺を訪ねてきた人は。
あ、その方でしたら奥の席にいらっしゃいますよ。
Hatsune pointed to a guy casually sipping away at a glass of iced coffee. The one I'd met at the museum, alright. Wow, this guy never fails to surprise me. I'd suspected he'd be a no-show since he seemed sketchy and all, but fortunately my fears had been unfounded.
あ、どうもっす。
Yotsuki got up and bowed.
まさか本当に来るとは思わなかったよ。
え、どうしてですか？
He sounded genuinely confused.
どうしてって。自分が疑われていると思わなかったのか？
え？疑うって何をすか？
He really didn't have a clue what was going on, did he?
君が彼女を誘拐した可能性もあると言っているんだ。
なんで俺
西園由衣の周辺にいた人物の中で君が一番怪しいんだ。
Ozumi was the only one who told me about the guy, so it only stood to reason he and his boys were probably keeping a close eye on him.
でも俺何もしてないっすよ。
そう主張したいのならば。
そりゃもちろんっすよ。
Yotsuki hastily pulled some photos out of his bag.
これが去年撮った写真っす。
The photos depicted Yui Nishizono, smiling. It was the first time I'd ever seen emotion on her face. One shot showed her reading a book. I scanned her for any distinguishable birthmarks or something like that, but no such luck, unfortunately. However,
このカバンについているものは何だかわかるかい？
hey, what? The black egg! The black egg! The black egg!
ああ、それは確か飾りですよ。
The black egg.
確か友達にもらったとか言ってたっすよ。仲間内でみんな同じのを身につけていたとか。
Oh. Well, her best friend was Ayumu, so Ayumu would have one. But Ayumu said she didn't know anything. Her circle, huh? Ayumu Sato didn't know anything about the black egg, meaning Yui Nishizono must have hung out with a different group of friends as well. Oh. Oh, yeah. So it's a sign of, part of the, potentially, if they were all part of this supposed prostitution ring, that's kind of like the indicator there is the black egg.
中身を抜いて色を塗った本物の卵らしいっすよ。
な、彼女の仲間というのはわからないか。
そんな無理っすよ。そこまで親密だったわけじゃないし。
If Keiko Izumi and Yumi Takagawa had happened to be a part of this circle as well, and did that mean that the black eggs found in their abdomens had originally belonged to them?
それで彼女は。
それはまだ教えられない。
I need to learn whatever I could about the black egg and that rumor, even if it meant getting a little rough. After all, the culprit had to be someone connected to that group. I left Moonworld and was about to head home when I spotted a familiar face. It was Fumiya Kuchiki. He moseyed on over when he noticed me.
こんばんは、時坂先生。
はあ、どうも。どこかで飲まれていたんですか。
いえ、ただの散歩ですよ。
Fumiya smiled feebly.
僕は下戸ですから。
そうなんですか。
I couldn't say I was all that surprised. He didn't seem like the drinking type.
今日もトウコちゃんがお世話になったそうで。
いや、何、ただの引率ですよ。そういえば今日は随分とおとなしかったですね。
Ever since she saw that painting, that is.
そうですか？今朝は随分と嬉しそうに見えたのですが。
ところで、朽木さん、誰かご親戚にでも彼女とよく似た方はいらっしゃいますか？
どういう意味ですか？
いや、今日行きました美術館にですね、彼女と瓜二つの人物画がありましてね。
Oh yeah, it was
書か
painted
れたのは
at the end of the
終
war,
戦
so
間
he
際
wouldn't
ら
know
しいの
what
で、
adult. So at
ちょっ
that
と
point,
気になりまして。
he wouldn't know what adult Toko looks like. Interesting. Interesting.
絵は見方によってガラリと雰囲気が変わりますから。おそらくトウコちゃんを見ていたから、その姿が絵にも反映されてしまったのではありませんか？
そういうこともあるんですかね。
Doing that from a doctor shook my conviction.
もしくは千鶴でしょうか。彼女が絵のモデルをやったという覚えはないのですが。
いえ、いいんですよ。少々気になっただけですから。
そうですか。では僕はこれで。
ええ、それでは。
I left Kichijoji and walked home. I have to carefully plan out my next course of action after everything I'd learned today.
おかえり先生。
おう、ただいま。
I went to my room and took a breather. Next, I pulled out a cigarette, popped it in my mouth, and lit it. Clouds of smoke dispersed through the room as my stomach rumbled. I was curious what we were having for dinner, of course. There was something else needed clarifying first. Yeah.
晩ご飯は焼き鮭と里芋の煮物だって。
なんでお前がここにいるんだよ。
遅いよ先生。
Tojiko was lounging around the living room like she owned the place.
つづり子もご飯食べていくのでしょ？
Yukari asked as she emerged from the kitchen.
もちろん、ゆかりの手料理だもんね。
What sort of comedy had I stumbled into? I had dinner, took a bath, and returned to my room. It seemed Tojiko was spending the night here. Even though she and Yukari had class tomorrow, she seemed to have no care in the world. Speaking of which, I'd have to resume my investigation at school as well. The first order of business was figuring out how to ask around about the rumor. There were several avenues I could take here. Shake someone up for answers! I mean, ask around about the rumor. Yo, obviously you're a male teacher. You don't want to be getting too close. Psyche's not gonna do anything. Psyche ain't gonna do shit. I mean, that really only leaves one possible choice. God damn, I keep reading that's what right click does. I mean, it only seems like the right answer. It's not even my bias towards her. It only seems like the right answer.
仕方ない。トジコに頼むか。
何を？
だからなんでお前たちは神出鬼没なんだ。
隣の部屋にいましたから。
で、私に何を頼みたいのかな？
I almost didn't feel like asking anymore due to how arrogant she sounded.
まあ、背に腹は変えられないか。
ちゃんとお願いします、つづり子様って。
じゃあゆかり頼めるか。
ええ、私は構いませんよ。
ちょっと私を無視しないでよ。
どうせお前だって首を突っ込みたいんだろ。
そんなの当たり前じゃない。
I love her. Talk about a complete 180.
分かったよ。お前も頼むぞ。
任せて。
それで何をすればいいのですか？
以前トジコが黒い卵の話をしていただろ
難しいと思うな。私だってほんの触りしか知らないからね。
Sure is. Tochiko looked awfully humble for once.
私が織姫先輩に近づいたのだってなんか話の種になるものがないかなって考えたからだもん。
う。やはり月島織姫がその噂に関係しているんだな。
多分ね。でも先輩は何も言わないと思うよ。だから責めるとすれば噂を知ってる下級生だけど。
良くないことをしているのであれば、その内容がどのようなものであろうとそちらからつくことができそうですね。
あまり無茶はしないでくれよ。お前たちまで危険にさらすわけにはいかないからな。
大丈夫だよ。学内のことでそんな危険はないはずだしさ。
Tochiko confidently pounded her chest. Mm-hmm.
ああ、おはよう先生。
I lumbered into the living room after waking up and found Tochiko the invader lounging on the couch with a newspaper in hand.
何か気になる記事はあるか。
見当たらないね。殺しも強盗もない平和な一日だったみたいだよ。
二人とも早く朝ごはん食べて学院へ行きますよ。
The three of us ended up walking to school together.
先生は車持ってたりしないの？
兄さんの稼ぎでは持てるはずありません。
軽自動車のスズライトだって40万はするんだぞ。どこにそんな金があるんだ。
だって車があれば通学だって楽になるでしょ。
自分で買えよ。小説書いて稼ぎはあるんだろ。
だって私運転免許持ってないもん。
俺だって持ってねえよ。
Oh, dorks. I hunkered down in the prep room and contemplated the case for hours, having no classes to distract me. While I'd learned quite a lot, I still didn't have all the pieces, which made my thoughts loop around the same train tracks over and over. My only real accomplishment was creating a mountain of cigarettes in my ashtray.
先生おると？
Tochiko suddenly popped in amidst my fruitless brainstorming session.
何か分かったか。
そうだね。結構深刻な問題かもしれないよ。
She shut the door behind her and walked in.
1年の子に聞いたんだけど、あの黒い卵ってのはシスマっていうのにならないともらえないみたいだよ。
シスマ。キリスト教でいう分裂のことか。
詳しい意味までは知らないよ。それでね、ここだけじゃなくて他の学園にもシスマの人がいたみたい。
Because members started getting murdered, I take it.
シスマの活動内容は聞けたのか。
いわゆる不良の集まりみたい。
不良ね。売春か
みたいだよ。多分西園さんや今村さんも強要されていたのかも。
I'd already pieced most of that together, but getting confirmation was still disconcerting all the same.
あと薬もやっていたみたいだよ。それは教えてもらえなかった。
Tochiko suddenly started fumbling over her words. She probably figured it out too, knowing her. The ringleader's identity was glaringly obvious,
そう
Orihime.
か。じゃああとは黒い聖母のことだな。
That was still the vaguest part of the whole picture, so intel on that was sorely needed.
そっちは特にないんだよね。黒い卵の噂と対になっているだけかもしれないよ。
ではその噂の出元はわかるか？俺がざっと調べたところ、ダンテの新曲には
なんかあるんだろうけど、私が聞いた子は知らなかったみたい。やっぱりシスマじゃないとダメなのかな。
そうか。ありがとうな、トジコ。
だからドジコって、まあいいや。
Whatever. Dojiko left after that rare display of resignation. That evening, I visited the staff room to say goodbye to Saiki before I left.
時坂先生、
どうかなさったんですか？
The man in question seemed restless and was talking without thinking. Must have been flustered.
実は今日3年の月島さんが休んでいたんです。ですがこちらへ連絡がありませんでしたので。
まさか家にもいないんですか？
Saiki shook his head.
いつも通り朝自宅を出たらしいのですが、それ以降の足取りは。
警察へ連絡は？
それがまだ。
すぐに通報してください。世間体など気にしている暇はありません。
Shit. I felt the urge to start combing the streets at once, issuing orders to Saiki instead.
警視庁捜査課の魚住巡査部長に自分の名前を出して伝えてください。
I turned around and found Kusaka standing in the
日
doorway.
下先生もお願いします。
月島さんが。
例の連続殺人に巻き込まれた可能性があります。
わかりました。すぐに探しに行きます。
Kusaka hurried on
教
out.
頭はここに残って連絡を待っていてください。あと月島さんの写真などはありますか？
そこに。
Saiki grabbed the receiver and pointed to his desk. Set between an arrangement of documents, sat a small mugshot of Odahime.
ではここはよろしくお願いします。
With that, I raced out. I dashed out of the school and looked around. Odahime had been grabbed on the way here, it'd been ages already. I mean, I'd probably have to extend my search radius rather far. Now where to look? Fuck. That's a great question. We last saw her at Inokashira, right? Wouldn't it really make sense to go to Shinjuku or to our own to Takashiro's detective agency? I doubt it would make sense to go to Natsume's clinic. Hey yo, a girl got kidnapped. Time to go slang some dick. No, my thoughts first and foremost would be the park. No other option really seems to make that much sense. Ran over to Inokashira Park. Odahime came here all the time. Thus I hope someone might have seen her.
あら、時坂くん。
京子か。
何よ。
そうじゃない。人を探しているんだ。
I showed Odahime's photo to Kyoko.
あら、
知っているのか？
ええ。よくお店に来ているわよ。確か月島さんだったかしら。
So she was a Moonworld regular and I never even knew.
今日学院に来る途中で行方不明になった。
Kyoko bit her lip.
今日の午前中、それ以降でもいい。
ごめんなさい。今日は見ていないわね。
そうか。ありがとう。お前も気をつけろよ。
Not here, huh? Better look elsewhere. Well, then I doubt she's at Moonworld, because no one's I guess let's go look around Shinjuku Station.
おーレイジ。
I bumped into Ozumi when I checked Shinjuku Station for any clues on Odahime's whereabouts.
魚住。
学院の連絡を受けてすぐにな。区内はもちろん三玉にも網を広げている。
ただ
遅かったかもしれん。
Ozumi grumbled angrily, crunching his cigarette all the while.
朝に誘拐されたのならば車だとどこへでも行けてしまう。これまでの星ならば身代金目的ではないから連絡
だがこれまでと同一犯ならばこの近郊に
警官だって無尽蔵にいるわけじゃねえんだ。
これまでの事件は武蔵野三鷹地区を中心としている。
どこも広くて夜には人通りが絶えるところだな。だが
そうだ。だがそれでも近くだと思うぞ。杉並ネギは。
分かった。
With him on the case and no longer had any reason to ask around Shinjuku, so so I decided to look elsewhere. Shit, there isn't a trace of her anywhere. I looked all over the city and had nothing to show for it but the passage of time. Furthermore, calling the MPD in school only revealed that they hadn't had any more luck than me. I sat on a bench and looked up at the night sky. The stars were gleaming. God damn it. Why the hell didn't I piece the clues together quicker? If I had, we could have taken her into protective custody, and none of this would have ever happened. A white stream of light suddenly raced across the sky.
流れ星だね。
Toko, ever the elusive phantom, suddenly approached me from behind.
時坂さんは何か
祈るだけで願いが叶うのなら、
ロマンがないね。現実主義者なのかな？
Toko circled me to look into my eyes.
年を食うと現実的なことしか見なくなるんだよ。
何かあったんだね。
ああ、
解決できるといいね。
そうだな。
I had to get to the bottom of this. Much as I wished I could hold out hope, I knew things looked bad.
君はいつも俺が弱っている時に現れるんだな。
そうかな。時坂さんはずっと呼ばれっぱなしなの？
Toko regarded my face.
学院でもいつも顔を合わせているじゃないか。
いや、そういうわけじゃないよ。
I swatched Toko when I saw the discouraged look on her visage.
そうだな。もう少し気合を入れないとならないな。
That was hardly the time to dawdle. Who knew what Orihime was going through while I was sitting on my ass?
まだ働くのかい？
ああ、今晩は徹夜になりそうだ。
I had to find whatever clues I could. No matter how trivial they seemed, I needed to chase down my leads. First things
送っ
first.
ていくぞ。
大丈夫だよ。一人で帰れるよ。
送らせてくれ。
Toko probably didn't meet the criteria that the other victims had. Still, as far as I was concerned, it was better safe than sorry.
うん。わかった。じゃあ、送って。
Toko wrapped her ice-cold hand around mine. I silently squeezed it back. This was... oh. Yeah, now we're torturer's POV. Okay. This was it. The day of judgment had finally arrived after so long. Even though now they're sure like the torturer is a woman, they think. Well, no, they just know that whoever wrote that note was a woman, and it was all but confirmed that it was Yui, so doesn't necessarily mean that our perpetrator is a woman. Anyway. It was time for the damnable ringleader, the root of this disaster, the one who'd started it all, to repent. Her death couldn't be short and simple. As her sins were the gravest, she deserved to suffer in eternal darkness until the end of time. Fuck. For she had sown the seeds of scandal and schism that had brought pandemonium to this world. Oh, are you gonna crucify her? Oh no, she's hanging by her wrists. The girl was drugged unconscious and crucified to the wall. Nope, crucified. Thought so. Her hands and right leg were bound. However, her left leg was swaddled in black cloth. Tarnishing it was simply out of the question. Okay. You're gonna take her left leg for your little Frankenstein you're making. Now let the Black Madonna render judgment upon you. Oh, the good old death by 1,000 cuts, huh? A blade carved lines into her porcelain skin. Crimson pearls frothed to the surface and quietly oozed out. A delicate balance and a healthy dose of restraint were necessary to keep the wounds neither deep nor shallow. Why do I have to break my back for this tramp? A raging urge to kill struggled beneath its chains. She had earned, had rightfully warranted, thousands of deaths for her sins. However, the impulse was stifled. After all, a simple death was far too merciful for her. She would be granted no salvation. The book stated that those who endured pain were rewarded, but that was simply unacceptable. Her soul deserved its spot amongst the eternally damned. Then, with the utmost care, so as to not leave any marble skin behind, her arms, chest, abdomen, and right leg were slashed. A book was opened. The devil butchers with his longsword. Intestines dangle out between their legs, their organs exposed, and their faces rent in two. So a face split in two, then. Oh, fuck. A figure was reflected off the girlie's glossy pupils. In them was that devil, clad in black. Ah! 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 ha! Ah! Don't like that! The tip of the blade poked the corner of her mouth before cleaving it through to the ear like butter. Flesh dangled off her cheek, exposing straight rows of teeth up to her molars for all the world to see. Blood gushed from the wound and sullied her white uniform. It almost looked as though she were smirking, as if she relished in her own suffering. Flames of hatred roared at the sight, and tears of blood were consequently carved below the girl's right eye. The torture was temporarily halted to swipe a syringe and an ampule off a nearby desk. Ironically, the girl had sold the very same substance. However, the dosage couldn't be so high to kill her, hence the need for going through all these unwanted hoops. And so, as that concoction was administered into her left leg several times, another injection was made right next to her debauched genitals, setting the stage for the surgery. A hatchet was grabbed and upraised. Ah! Blood splattered everywhere. The girl's left leg plopped to the floor. She didn't make a sound the whole time. Damn it, how underwhelming. I knew I should have reduced the anesthetic and done it while she was still awake. The clawed appendage was plucked from the ground, gore wiped off the stump. That leg still had a greater purpose to serve. Soon it would all be ready. The bleeding from the stump of the girl's torso was quickly stemmed before her uniform was ripped open. The black egg had to be broken. Her entrails had to hang. This corrupted soul had to be purified. A moment later, the splash of a scalpel sinking under the navel resounded. Swiftly was her wound opened, her uterus removed with relative ease. The bodies left in this girl's wake had made the procedure all too simple. The uterus radiated pleasant warmth in the palm of a hand. A few months later, the black egg was torn off the girl's bag. This was it. This is what had caused everything to go awry. And so with great wrath was the egg shoved into her abdomen and furiously crushed. Is she still alive? Is her heart still beating? Oh, how I hope the anesthetic wears off before she dies. The girl traversed a dark path all by her lonesome. But the way forward and the way back were shrouded in the deepest of shadows. With her footing unstable, she hadn't the faintest if the ground at her feet was soil, sand, gravel, or overgrown grass. If anything, her steps felt soft and fluffy, as if walking across the clouds. And yet, she didn't halt her march, for dearly in her arms did she carry the most reassuring of companions, the black egg. It would be no exaggeration to compare its size to that of a dinosaur's. The girl handled the egg carefully so it did not slip out of her grasp. From time to time, she pressed her ear against the shell and nodded to herself in understanding before abruptly changing direction. That raised a question, of course. What was in the egg? An actual dinosaur hatchling, perhaps? Nay, it was none other than the girl's own mother, or so she told herself. The girl's mother led her every step of the way, addressing her in the same kind and gentle voice as always. She watched over her daughter from within the black egg at all times, whether they be sad, painful, or blissful. Thus her mother's guidance helped the girl navigate her way through the darkness and arrive at a mysterious new area. Though her vision was still murky, she could tell a massive gate towered before her, shut firmly. A sign with a sentence inscribed upon it hung above the gate. The girl asked her mother what was written there. "You have not fear, not when your heart is stalwart and your wisdom vast," said her mother in a kindly voice. Hearing that lifted the girl's spirits. "I hope I can find your body soon," said the girl, pressing the black egg before pushing open the gate. Moon and gloves. Interesting.
雪が降っている。
I can pop up with this one.
寒く辛い季節。あなたのぬくもりが欲しいからそっと抱きしめる。私のぬくもりもあなたに届くように。
Okay. Carter's concerned voice greeted me when I stepped through the door to my home, dead tired after a night of combing the city.
ただいま。
先ほど魚住さんからお電話がありました。至急武蔵関に来てほしいと。
武蔵関。
That was all I needed to hear to piece together what had happened. My worst fear had come to pass.
兄さん、今日はお休み。
そうもいかないさ。
I tried to remain as calm as possible, knowing she was only saying that of the goodness of her heart.
今日も忙しくなりそうだから、学院へは後で行くと思う。そう心配するな。休むときはしっかりと休むよ。
ぜひそうしてください。
Yukari left for school after shooting me one last concerned glance. Time to get to work. By going west down Ome Street to Musashiseki from my place and walking to the border of Nerima and Hoya, you'd find Musashiseki Park. A swarm of police officers was assembled in the parkland bordering Fujimi Pond. I stared at the cloudy sky for quite some time, till Iwozumi finally came over, a scowl etched profoundly into his features. Okay, the fourth one's not marked on the map yet. But he said it was like the border... Wait. Okay, so now we have the Research Institute on our map now. At least on our points of interest map. It's not on a place we can travel to, but we know where it's at. Okay. Good to know, good to know. Gotcha.
Kita ka?
やはりそうか。
確認してくれ。
That's a solid, yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cover that up. I'm gonna have to cover that up. Lying there was an empty husk that had once been the beautiful Arahime Tsukishima. Yet oddly enough, my heart was unmoved. Maybe I was just so exhausted that my mind had gone numb. Thus I calmly analyzed the crime scene despite being faced with the most gruesome sight. Man, even at a distance, that one's tough to look at. This is number 4? This is number 4. Right, 'cause it's on the border of, like, Nerima and Hoya. Okay. That's the thing. Like, yeah, the Kuchiki Clinic is here, the Research Institute is here. This is where the Institute's at. And notice how it's online with these crime scenes aren't far off from the Seibu line here. In fact, they're all kind of close to these railways. But this one's close to like this clinic here. I don't know. Let's investigate though. Morning dew arose from the pond and shrouded the park in fog. Under any other circumstances, it would have made for a simply magical sight. But the hasty scrambling of cops and forensics officers quickly squashed whatever beauty the scene had to offer. Anything around the body before getting close? Alright. Probably gonna have to mosaic this one out. Like I said, even honestly, I'm probably gonna have to mosaic this out because just even at a distance, that one's probably not gonna work too well. Orime's corpse was carefully posed against one of the trees as if she were a sacred monument for the world to behold. And yet none of it even fazed me. It's almost like part of my heart didn't want to bother processing my feelings on the matter.
目撃者はいるのか？
深夜1時頃、帰宅途中の会社員がここで目撃している。その時は付近も暗く、不老者が眠っているのだと思って立ち去ったらしい。
夜通し探し回って、このありさまか。
この辺りを警官が見回ったのが午前3時頃だった。
Ozumi calmly went over the facts like he had nothing to do with them.
遺体を調べるぞ。
I quelled any and all emotion and got to work. Yep, that is rough. Well, let's start with that mouth.
こいつはひどいな。
Yeah, real fucked up. Ozumi grimaced. Her cheeks were sliced from ear to ear, exposing rows of pearly whites. Almost looked like she was smiling. Her face was also a crisscross of myriad lacerations. The killer had deliberately avoided cutting too deep to ensure she suffered a slow and painful death. Let's look at the missing leg.
悪いな。
I apologized to the lifeless girl before opening up her tattered clothes. What I found beneath was skin littered with cuts, and a stitched-up incision in her abdomen. Her belly was unnaturally thin, signifying she too had likely been pillaged of her uterus. I put her clothes back in order to, after confirming my suspicions. Okay, let's look at the leg she has.
左足か。
Yeah. She was missing one of her limbs, just like all the other victims thus far. It seemed the cut surface had received simple treatment to stem the bleeding. Why in the hell would they do that? Odeme's long hair was as glamorous and beautiful as it had been in life. She was also still wearing her trademark silver hair accessory. However, some patches of hair were hardened here and there. Blood splatter must have gotten on them. Lumps of coagulated crimson flaked off when I needed them. Odeme Tsukima's husk reclined against the tree, beyond recognition. Her white uniform had been stained scarlet, slashed from top to bottom by a blade. Furthermore, her wrists were surrounded by bloody bruises, indicating she'd been restrained. Anything around the body I need to check? A black cloth, there we go, was spread under the body.
やはりここで殺されたわけではなさそうだな。
That conclusion was evinced by the relative lack of blood absorbed by the cloth.
今までと同じか。
Best for looked elsewhere. Best for looked elsewhere, okay. Check the mouth. Wait, something was stuck in her mouth.
魚住、手袋を貸してくれ。
おう。
I donned some white gloves that were a little too big for me, reaching into Odahime's mouth. Moments later, I pulled out a piece of paper that was slathered in blood and saliva.
それは。
音がいより額。髪まで顔を切られて嘆きつつ。我に好きな自由はありあり。その他汝の心の見るものは皆。生けるとき、不は分離のために負けるものなり。
God damn it.
新居か。
The handwriting resembled the last one, too. Yu Nishizono must have written this then. Okay. So they had Yui write all these out before they killed her? Because they said that her fingerprints matched the first victim, right? At least the arms that were there. Right? If I'm remembering that correctly?
一応これも鑑識に回してくれ。
Handed the paper to a nearby forensics officer. I caught sight of what appeared to be a tear stain made of blood. Had the killer added that on purpose? Okay. Though she was riddled with cuts, none of them were deep enough to be fatal. Okay. Oh. Something was jutting out of her skirt pocket. Carefully pulled it out, making sure not to get my fingerprints on it. What I discovered was a rectangular scrap of paper that was about 5 centimeters long. It was well worn and caked in splatters of blood. There were words printed on it that had been reduced to incomplete sentences thanks to the rips in the paper.
文庫本のカバーの折り返しか。
I mean, the sentences are probably the book's summary or something of the sort.
こいつも鑑識行きだな。
Bloodstains on the ground likely originated from the cut surface. think I've clicked around well enough. Figured I'd investigate everything relevant. See? That wasn't so hard now. Like, yeah, that body's quite a lot to look at, but like, that's not so hard when I can actually see the things I should probably click on, you know? And not just like click randomly and guess where I should click. Like, I mean, I get it. They probably had to do that in order to get the game put out on Steam for whatever reason. I don't know, but man, that's so much easier. Just be like, okay, that part looks specifically fucked up. Let's click on that. Click it again, click it again. Okay, we've seen everything. Cool. This part looks really fucked up. Let's click on that. Click it again, click it again. All right. The rest we just have to wait for the autopsy.
仏を搬出するぞ。ああ。
Orima was loaded onto a stretcher and carried off. With that, my mind shifted gears to my next move.
なあ、ウズミ。彼女の自宅は調べてあるか？
場所は分かっている。すでに連絡は行っているだろうな。
今すぐに令状を取れるか？月島織姫の身辺を洗いたい。
厳しいな。月島家は西の綾崎家と並ぶ大家だ。
Still, we couldn't afford to miss any potential clues. Maybe the situation called for a technical abuse of authority.
場所を教えてくれ。
おい、レイジ。
勘違いするな。俺はただ学院の講師として行くだけだ。
だがそれじゃ何かが見つかったとしても証拠として認められんぞ。
分かってる。どうせ直接犯人につながるものは出てこないだろうさ。
If there was anything, it'd be about the core of the case, Schisma. I managed to ask her about that before passing, and that fact was a regret I'd undoubtedly carry to the grave. Maybe this was a wild goose chase. Maybe we'd be wasting time we can no longer afford to lose. Still, I want to chase whatever leads existed in hopes of quickly unmasking the killer.
これ以上犠牲者を出したくねえんだよ。
俺は何も聞いちゃいないからな。もちろん月島家が三鷹の神連尺にあるなんて教えるはずもねえ。
Appreciate you, Ozumi.
今からやることは俺の独断だ。
さっさと行きやがる。
I ran out of the park. The Schisma residence was over 5 clicks away, but I could easily run that. Couldn't afford to take it slow this time. Not anymore. The Tsukushima estate sat quietly amidst the woods. Alrighty. Well, unfortunately, I am going to have to wrap it up there for tonight. Good lord. Yeah, this has been quite the journey, I'm not gonna lie. Holy God. Oh, wow. So what, we had the turn up of the third victim now. We paid our coroner and butt sex, and then we had the fourth victim now. There was the whole painting that looked like Toko. There was Yui's photographer friend who apparently we managed to discern like she wore the accessory and that it was part of a group. There's a group. So there's more of them out there that we got to keep an eye out for. I'm still the Kachikis in general. Just there's Toko looking like the girl in the picture, and the artist was a close friend of her grandfather, right? And then there's the whole fact there was like the evil guy that was at the hospital when we were asking around for when Reiji was there investigating the abortions. There's the fact that they have their own private clinic out in the middle of the fucking woods. And the fact that Toko doesn't feel comfortable around them. There's the fact that Humiya seems to be popping up like only at night. And he's, I just happened to be out for a stroll. Like, oh yeah? That's all you're doing, Humiya? Like, I don't know where exactly to point my fingers, but that family specifically is shady as shit. But yeah, no, this has been an interesting ride for sure. Honestly, the biggest shock to me is that this game actually originally had sex scenes. Okay. Yeah, that is easy, but like I said, that's been the biggest shock of this ride so far. I was not prepared to witness that. Like, I saw a woman arm cut off, head twisted around 180. I saw a girl covered in cuts mouth split open Joker style. And easily the most concerning thing I've seen was butt fucking a coroner. It just felt so out of place, man. It just didn't seem right at all, but whatever. And I guess there's more to it, because whatever. For some reason there is. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to wrap up this recording session here for today. So it's either going to be a quick transition or a new video, but regardless, I will see y'all in the next one. Until then, peace.